Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to calculate, our customer age group. It's something very simple. In the previous video, we have taken a look at this particular part of the dashboard right here. But today our focus is going to be channeled towards this particular part. It might look something very simple, but a little bit different from what you used to do. So what we're about to do right now is to make sure we calculate the customer age based on the last day they made transactions, not based on the current date. You know that? That is something very simple and easy. I'm going to show you how to get everything created. All right, if you look at it right now, we have two different tables right here, the customer table and as well the transaction table. Going over here, we have this particular table linked together, one-to-many relationship. Now, if we actually go to the data view, we click on the customer data and you scroll to the right hand corner, you're going to see two different dates. This one has to do with the date when the customer actually registered with us, while this one has to do with the column that would actually help us to create our customer age. Very simple, right? So let me show you what most of us used to do when we want to actually create customer age. So quickly, I'm going to actually right click from here and go ahead and actually add a new column. We're going to be using calculated column right now. Remember, what we're about to do can never be done using measure. So when doing something like this, use, calculated column. So now we have this here. I can actually name this one just age. So with this one named age, what I want to do right now is to actually use a function called dateDiff. So with dateDiff, it's looking for two different dates to actually work. What is the first date that this is actually looking for? The first date will be this particular date column right here, which is going to be date of year. Can you see it right now? So with that, I'm going to put a comma right here. So if you are tempted to actually do this, that is going to be wrong. So if I do today and I just go ahead and close this and put a comma right here for the interval, I want it to be by year. Then go ahead and have this closed and hit enter. This will give us the wrong customer age because this is going to be based on today. What if this data has to do with data of 10 years ago and you're calculating the customer age as of the current day? That is wrong. So the question is this: how do we actually calculate the age of customers based on the last day, the last purchase? It's something very simple. Let's quickly add a different column here, new measure. So we just added a new column, and inside this particular new column, I'm going to use a variable to store in the customer date of year, DOB, right? So if I put my equal sign right now, I'm going to actually do date of, and here we go. So what have we just done? We have actually stored in this, which is this particular column from here right now into where? Into this particular variable, and we can actually reuse it over and over again, and it will make our work very easy. So once done, now we're going to create another variable. So this variable here, we're going to call it last transaction, right? So what do we need to do on this one? Over here now, we're trying to actually bring in the last date that our customer or a particular customer make his or her last transactions from us. So what we can do is to use the calculate function to change the filter context, right? So we're using this now, we're going to actually use the max function. So with the max function now, we're going to send the max function to go into the transactional table and retrieve for us the order date. Order date is what we want. We can just type in here transaction, and we scroll through to get the date, which is this date here. And once we have done this now, the next thing we close and we hit our comma. So this now is actually our, our expression. The filter part right now, if you look at IntelliSense right here, we have where it says expression. The expression now is this particular path here, and now we need for the filter. While the filter will definitely be what we really want to return. In this particular aspect, we are just going to go down here and say, okay, for the filter path, we want to use the filter function. So with the filter function now, we want to filter the transaction. Yeah, I think that is going to be the e-commerce transaction table here. Putting the comma right on it. So we want to say, okay, you know what? Go into here and find customer ID, which is this very one here. And we check if it is equals to the one we have inside here, customer ID inside the customer table. If that is the case, we go ahead and have this closed and have this closed. All right, let us go ahead and return what this particular last transaction will give to us. So we just type in return underscore no. I think it's going to be the last, this very one here. And if I hit my enter key, let's see what we are going to have. So over here, we have gotten the last transaction date in here. So if you look at it right now, this is actually going to be, let's some kind of, okay, if you look at it right now, our measure returned just dates, right? So we're going to use this particular one now to find the difference between this one. That will give us the age of the customer based on the last, transaction that this particular customer had with us. Very simple, right? Let's quickly go over here now into the measure. So under the return part here, instead of us to just return this one, we're going to use the date diff here. Inside the date diff, we actually do underscore this divide by this last transaction here, and we actually show it by year. So which means we'll go down here and show this. So we'll go ahead and have this closed, and this will give us numbers instead of dates. So this is what we have gotten. So let us look at it and see what we have and where we have this difference. So over here, this very customer here is 77 as of the current day we are actually into, that we actually created this based on, because in this particular age here, what we did use is actually the today function. So on this particular one, we are not using today function. We are basing this based on the last day the customer actually made his or her purchase, and it's giving us 76 years. Can you see it right now? So in case you want to see difference now, let's go over here and add a new column. So here we can type in diff for difference. So quickly we do age, which is this particular age here. We subtract it from the customer age. I think it's named as yeah, this one here. Then we hit enter to see what the difference are. Okay, the difference here is 1. If I go over here now, so we can actually go ahead and filter where it is actually, let's see what we can do to get the right view. If I keep scrolling down now, you can see 0. 0 means they're actually the same number. Let us filter away the zeros that we actually have right here. So let's do this. So now here we go. So we have some blanks. Where we have those particular blanks, those are the customers that did not actually make any or made any purchases from us. We're going to be taking care of that, so no problem. Just leave that way it is. If you look at it right now, this particular path here, this shows that the customer is actually 31 as of the current day today, and now the customer is actually 30 based on the last transaction. You get it right now. Based on the last transaction, the customer is actually 30, right? So this is what it is. So the thing is this, what is actually the difference? The difference now is that this particular age here calculates based on today, while this one based it on the last transaction this particular customer made. For example, let's say we have data that is actually dated back to 5 years ago, and we're trying to make the calculation now to find the age of the customer. If we base it on the current day, it's going to give us some kind of weird calculation. If we base it on the last transaction day, it will tell us how old was the customer when the customer made his or her last purchase. That is what we just did right here. You get it right now? Very simple. So we have just achieved the part where we have to just create the age. Now it is time for we to actually create something just like what we have right here right now to create the age groups, right? Very simple. Let's do it. So under the different here, we can just go ahead and have it unfiltered, clear all filters. We don't need to keep this particular difference. It's just for us to show the difference between the two age we have just calculated. Then what we're going to do now is to create buckets between them, which is something very simple. The very first thing you have to do is to find your interval. Do you want 5 years interval, 10 years interval, 2 or 3 years interval? Define that before you start doing this. So inside here, let us see what interval do we want. Let's do 10 years interval. And to make it easy now, we're going to actually use variable. Inside the variable, we're going to store in the customer age. So don't use this particular one right here. So give this one a red flag. It's not going to be useful to us. So instead, we're going to be using this very one that actually picked the last transaction date. So let's go. So equals this is it. So once we are done here now, we can go down and say return. Under return, we're going to actually use the switch through. So with the switch through function now, we're going to say, okay, if underscore age here is some kind of less than or equals 27, then we're going to set the group to be between 18, can you see? Between 18 to 27, which is age 18 to 27. Otherwise, we go down again and we just say if this one over here is less than or equals to 28. So why 28? This one stopped at 27. So now this one would actually start evaluating the row until it stops saying 27. Now it will start from 28 here. So in this case, what we're going to do, we're going to say this one is actually going to be our 28 now to 37. So remember I said 10 years interval. Count from 27 to 37. That gives you 10. So we are using 10 years interval. You can decide to use 15 years, even less than that is all your choice. So I'm going to close this one now and go over here and bring this one in again. So this time around, we're going to say if this one is less than or equals. So we do 47. Let's do 47 here. Oh, sorry. Over here, we need to do 38, rather 38. Or is that it? Oh, sorry. 37 should be what we should use. 37, 27, 37. Then this one should be 47. So 37, 47. Then we do here. That means those particular customers will be between the age of 38 to 47. So why 38 to 47? This one stopped at 37. So we are going to plus 1 to this number and have it right here and return back this where it is going to stop. You get it right now? Very simple. So we put under comma again, and you can add as many as you like. Depends on how many groups you want to see. So I add on that one again. This time around, I am going to actually do if I've done for 37, 47, let's do it for 57 here, put a comma on it. So over here now, under 57 is gonna be 48, which means we pick this particular number and we add 1 to it. That will give us 58, now to what? To 57, right? So let us add one more group to it. So over here now, we still do the same thing again. And we say when it is less than or equals, this one should be 67. Put a comma on it. And inside here, it's going to be 58. So why 58? We plus 1 to this particular 57. It gives us 58 because the evaluation stops at 57 and it continues at 58 right here. It will be 58 to 67. So we are returning back this particular one. That is the maths. 10 years interval. Okay. Other than all of these things we have right here right now, we want to actually say, okay, the remaining ones should be under, above 67, right? Above 67. This is what it is. So which means if it is not within this range, and this range, so it will actually classify every other thing under here. So what do? We just go ahead and hit our enter key to look at what the result will look like. Okay, if you look at it right now, if I open up this particular, drop down here, we're going to have, something like this, right? So what did we use? Customer age, yes, of course. So here we go. We have this grouped for us. Something very simple, right? Let us go quickly ahead to the visual aspect here and try to show exactly what this is. So all I need to do now is to actually bring in my age group. So inside my age group, before I put any value in there, let's go over here and do 20. That will make it look bold. Can do 40 here. Nicely shown. So you can just go ahead and show it up this way. So let us bring a particular measure. That should be the measure of customer with transaction. In case you want to see the measure that powers this one, this is what we have right here. We actually do distinct count and we counted the customer ID from our transaction table. I have a class for this particular part of this, so you might want to check it out and see what it is we have done there. So this is what we have over here. So now we can now see numbers of customers under 18 to 27, 28 to 37, 38 to 47, 48 to 57, down to this particular one right here. Do you see it right now? This is how you can actually create something like this. So if need be, you want to see something much more interesting, we can go ahead and actually convert it to this particular matrix here. So once converted to matrix, what we can do right now is to actually go over to here and add the customer age below it, right? So now we can go ahead and come over to this particular part now. So we go for the row header. So we increase this from 10 to 30, for instance. So now we can see if we collapse this particular one now, it will give us all the age that actually powers 18 to 27. You can see it's from 15 to 20. So if I actually go ahead and collapse this one now, this gives me this as well. If you scroll down now, you can see all the age under it is from 28 to 37. It stopped at 37. This is how you can take a look at what you have done. Although this is not really important in our visual. What is important is just for we to get this particular age group done, and it will give you exactly something like this.